All right. Welcome back, my regular viewers, listeners, and watchers. And of course, if you happen to be here for the very first time, welcome. Before I go any further, my name is Rahul George, India's premier eye hypnosis coach and your personal guide. So we are now at a very interesting junction. And this is sort of like where things only get better from here. By that I mean that I've now at this point, I've been away from home for 2 weeks, been a lot of adventures, a lot of ups, a lot of downs, a lot of in-betweens. And now that things have kind of reached a new level, a new watermark, uh, it's time to level things up. By that I mean that one is, of course, very shortly. Of course, if you happen to be watching this around the time of the recording, you may already know, or you may not, that in April, that is this April, I will be launching the first cohort, the first group. This is, of course, a pilot group of this program called the iHNLP Practitioner Program. It's a 90-day program, and maybe you've been hearing me off and on talking about this. If you're already part of my groups, you know more about this, obviously. And the intention is to set in motion a program that truly has been 17 years in the making. And by that, I mean close to 17 or 18 years ago, I embarked on this journey. I began this journey of learning NLP, or neuro-linguistic programming. And by learning, I mean, initially, of course, I focused on learning the technical aspects, the jargon, the labels, the codes. And then, of course, over a period of time, I've only gotten deeper. I've gone deeper into it, learned uh, deeper and longer. Of course, with my mentor, the co-founder of NLP, Dr. Richard Bandler. And along the way, I've been very blessed to have uh, met some amazing teachers. Now, a quick little backstory. Even before I finally got to meet Dr. Richard Bandler in person, many years before that, I discovered that there was his namesake, meaning Richard, as in his name was Richard McHugh. Truly amazing teacher, truly amazing human being. Somebody, if memory serves me right, somebody who was probably in his late 60s or early 70s when I met him. And he was a absolutely fantastic teacher. For me, when I met him, as in when I met Richard, and of course, he used to always say, my name is Dick, and during this program, of course, you will call me Dick. Now, tell me your name. And so this was literally the orientation exercise where we would be about 40 or 50 people in a circle, and each one would go around the room sharing their name. By go around, as in everybody would be standing in one circle, a large circle of literally like 40 or 50 people, and one by one everybody would tell people their name. Of course, the purpose of that was there are a lot of people who were Jesuit priests and nuns. There were a lot of people who were pretty senior, tenured people in the training industry. Of course, back then we didn't really have a coaching industry yet. I'm talking, 2007, 2008 onwards. So people would, stand and give their titles, like I'm Dr. So-and-so. And of course, the intention was to shed these titles that we have. Uh, Dick being Dick, obviously he had a sense of humor, because the word itself obviously has many connotations. One is to shock people. One is to make people uncomfortable, because a lot of times we tend to have preconceived notions about what's right, what's wrong, what's what's socially acceptable and what isn't, right? What's taboo and what isn't, because a lot of that we pick up purely by being told what is right and wrong. So this was literally how he would start the process. And then we would go deeper and deeper into the actual program. And that was literally, part of my formative years of learning NLP or neuro-linguistic programming. And then over a period of time, as I started to go deeper, I realized that one is, of course, Dr. Richard Bandler was still alive. Two is that he was still creating programs. He was still running his practitioner, which he had been running, I think, at that point for more than 20 years. And so when I did all the research, I figured out that, yes, of course, he's still alive. He's still healthy. He's practicing. And by practicing, I mean he teaches. And in those days, I found out that he was teaching in Orlando. And so I decided to make the trip to Orlando. I wasn't alone, thankfully, one way of looking at it. And of course, it was a blessing because I had my business partner, Anna or Annalise. Some of you may already know of her, even if you haven't yet. I'm sure in the coming days you will hear more about her and you'll possibly get to even meet her. So the important thing is that my journey started there, where the first couple of years, 2007 to 2012, it was more about spending time with Dick and learning and mastering the intricacies of NLP. And when I finally discovered that, of course, Richard was still around, as in Dr. Richard Bandler, and I'm talking, this is the early days of torrents and downloading pirated software and programs. And so someone had very kindly uploaded more than 1 terabyte of his programs, his audio programs, his video programs, seminars from literally the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s. So like a diligent, dedicated student, I started to, literally, as they say, go down the rabbit hole, and I kept, finding more and more and more. I kept downloading, kept watching, sometimes for the days on end, with the intention of really, really learning. And this pattern continued from 2000, I should say 2010, 2011. So a good 2 years, 2010, 2011, 2011, 2012. And then, of course, eventually, in fact, in 2011, I was supposed to go and be in that room with Richard and trainers from all over the world, students from all over the world. But that wasn't to be. Instead, it was just preparing me for 2012. And in fact, 2011 was happening in London. My visa didn't happen. And so I said, okay, what's the next best thing? It turns out that at the beginning of 2012, there was a circular, there was a flyer that was floating around, and thankfully I found it. And one thing led to another. And not only did I get my visa to the US, but I also ended up starting the pilgrimage. So 2012, 2013, 2014, and 2015 was my journey when I started to make that trip every single year, several times over. And of course, it wasn't just me. There was Anna and I. We both made that journey. And it was just, an opportunity to keep going deeper and deeper. In fact, in 2013, little known to me, while I was in the UK, so we did Orlando as well as the UK. So in London, there was also this program, which was called The Secrets of Hypnosis, which was being run by Richard and by somebody who today, some of you may have heard of his name, Paul McKenna. If you watch any of Mind Valley's programs, of late, they have been promoting him and his hypnotrances. Of course, Paul McKenna has been around for many, many, many years. He was a big name in the UK way back from the 80s. There was stage hypnosis initially. I think he was a RJ, if I remember correctly. He was a radio jockey, and then He got interested in hypnosis and stage hypnosis initially, then eventually he moved into more of the therapeutic work. And along the way, I also did pretty much watch whatever I could find of Paul McKenna as well. And some of his books are, I Can Make You Thin, I think it was, and I Can Make You, forget the other name, something about money, I Can Make You Money or something like that. So I'm sure if you Google it, you'll find there are those titles out there. But more importantly, as I started to go deeper and deeper, I um, started to, become more sort of, it's like from the unconscious incompetence to the conscious competence. And, little by little, month by month, year by year, I started to learn, I started to apply, learn, apply, see what was working, see what wasn't working, and then, improve on the application, become more fluent and then more fluid. And like this, time also passed. And eventually, I reached a point where in 2015, so this is literally, uh, about 3 or 4 or 5 years. So in 2015, of course, I got to the point where I was like, okay, I think I've kind of got this, and continue to apply till fast forward to 2018, where I discovered another teacher of mine, Igor Ledachovsky, and it turns out, was quite the master when it came to hypnosis. And he is somebody who had, for many, many years, in fact, for decades, been focusing on not only teaching hypnosis, but he had a lot of these video programs and audio programs. And in those days, now sadly, for some reason, his YouTube channel doesn't exist, at least with the videos that I had seen. But his style, and of course, he has a British accent, so that kind of gives it its own spin. And his ability to demonstrate, his ability to teach with the intention that you will learn, because he wants you to know it step by step by step, without the mystique, right? Without the sort of magician's mystery attached to these techniques. He had that style of teaching. So, like I said, over the years, I've been extremely blessed to have had some amazing teachers who I've learned from, not only online, meaning that I've learned um, at my, at my pace, but I've also been able to have FaceTime with them. Um, I've been in the many programs, and even to this day, I still attend a lot of Igor's. They are live, but they are on Zoom. So that's the new way, of course, of learning, where one is you fly literally across continents to learn. It is, of course, an expensive, and I say expensive because the program, you pay like almost 3 times the cost of the program to be able to attend the program, because there is obviously the dollar equivalent, and there's travel, there's stay, and there's those days when not actually training as well. So having said all of that, of course, one of the plus sides or plus points of COVID having coming in is it has changed the way we look at learning. It's changed the way we think about, you know, changing our own perspective to life, to what is possible. And by that I mean, for instance, who would have thought that as an adult you would be learning on a screen? But for a lot of us, especially if you happen to be more inclined to, or you already are a practicing, you could be a coach. So by definition, a digital coach. You could be a healer, and therefore by definition, a digital healer. And maybe today, post-COVID, of course, you're blending the two. So maybe you have some offline, you have some online. But a lot of this today is possible because we were all together collectively kind of led to see that we can learn through other ways, right? And of course, there is the skill of the teacher to be able to teach you while we are connected on screens. But that's what makes this truly powerful. So, as I said, this was the journey. And why did I give you this whole background? Because now I know that after literally being on, on this tour, this climb up to the mountain to summit, now at the 17-year mark, I know that now I see a taller mountain to be climbed. And so even as I've, in private, made the descent um, from the first peak, now it's time to climb the second one, the higher one. And obviously, I don't see myself doing this alone. There are people who will be joining in at different points. Some people are still, yet to know about it at a conscious level. Some people already do know, but they're sort of biding their time. And I do understand that that's part of the process. But the whole point here is that, we will be doing more of these. There will be, of course, another cohort happening soon. But like I keep reminding people that you either pay attention now or you pay a higher price later. And it's true, right? Sometimes when I look at people who join these hypnosis programs or these NLP programs, and the ones who happen to be maybe in their teens or in their 20s, there's a lot that they have got and they don't recognize it yet, because they get to, if they are, and they continue to be diligent, they get to practice for the next 20, 30 years of their lives and create a different reality in their 20s, of course, but in their 30s, in their 40s, and in their 50s. I know when I look back, um, I had heard about NLP in when I was in my late 20s, when I was kind of toying with, okay, what do I do if I do not want to work in advertising? And it's like I know what I don't want, but I don't know what I do want. And so in discovering that, I took a couple of years to be able to finally begin the journey. So, of course, there is always divine timing. I completely get that. But it's just another reminder that for people who do get to hear about this at a, let's say, an earlier point in their lives, they are paying less now because they paid more attention now. For others who wait till I still remember, even when I was doing my NLP program way back in 2007, there were people who were hearing about this at that point. So I was in my, I guess I would be in my, probably, yeah, I was in my early 30s at that point. And there were people who were in their 50s and 60s who were getting to know about NLP for the very first time, right? So what am I implying here? That when you hear about something like this, join. When you hear about something like this, apply. So when you apply, then you know whether this is for you or whether this was a stepping stone. But like anything that is good and that is out there, we as human beings tend to want to take our time with it. We tend to want to defer it um, in the in the uh, it's like we get stuck in that space of maybe this is not for me, or I don't know why I'm here. Like, okay, I've joined a group, but I'm not moving forward. Right? We've all been there, and the funny story is that we will continue to be like this, uh, maybe less and less with time that goes by, or not. So a lot of that has to do with how much we are working on ourselves, how much more we are working on ourselves. And so this is just a reminder. And like I've also realized that, nowadays when I do my Facebook lives, they're about a couple of minutes long. But today it just felt right to share this with you. Now, for those of you who have been regular viewers, listeners, and watchers, you probably also know that because I'm broadcasting. Okay. There we go. I almost lost you for a second. Like I said, because I'm broadcasting this on or using Zoom, I, on purpose, have no access to the comments. So I don't even know how many of you are watching this live. I don't even know how many of you will watch this in the short run. Obviously, in the long run, because this also is uploaded as a pod, you probably might see this at some point. I mean, you'll know if you've seen this. I probably may not, unless you message me later saying, hey, that pod that you recorded literally on the what date are we on? On the 22nd of March, 2024, right? I saw it today. And like now, a lot of what you said then makes perfect sense. So this is bound to happen. It's just kind of the nature of things. I know there are some of these programs that I had heard about many years ago, but it never really struck home until it did eventually many years later. In fact, while we're talking about programs, I remember this was around 2012. Yes, 2012, when I had started to make that my pilgrimage to Orlando every year. That was the same year that I had got an email telling me that there was this gentleman called T. Harv Eker, who was coming to India for the very first time, and he himself was coming to run the program. Now, I say this also because for those of you who are, coaches, those of you who are trainers, but definitely those of you who are coaches and healers, and if you've been around, especially post-COVID, you know that um, whether it's T. Harv Eker, whether it is somebody you may have heard of called Blair Singer, whether it is Suren, uh, whether it is Success Gyan, and there are a whole host of coaches today who are out there, part of his tribe, doing programs on pretty much a regular basis. A lot of a lot of them have got their start. A lot of them have got their recalibration after they came across the programs of T. Harv Eker, and a lot of them attended these programs somewhere around 2017, 2018, 2019, of course. Like I said, I heard about the program in 2012, but it barely caused a blip in my mailbox. And I don't even think I actually opened the mail, but it was there. And then literally 7 years later, in 2019 was when I realized that, oh yeah, actually I did get an email from the same company. Incidentally, it was Siddharth's company that had sent me that email. So I obviously must have been on his database. So what's interesting is that, there are these kind of stories that we all have that, oh yeah, I heard about such and such a program, but I didn't, um, it didn't really, resonate, meaning it didn't resonate loudly enough or in a big way enough for me to take action then, for me to actually do something about it then. And so, like I said, it was literally like 7 years later. And the interesting story here, of course, is that um, when one of the many factors, but one of the factors that helped Vishen Lakhiani uh, visualize and conceptualize Mind Valley was, and definitely has something to do with his experiences of having attended the Millionaire Mind Intensive, which was, of course, the brainchild, the the signature program of T. Harv Eker. So there are all these different connections that are out there. Some of these names may be familiar to you, some of them may be absolutely new. But what's important is that there are these programs that are out there that uh, that are meant for you. And maybe right now it's just one of those blips on the radar, and at some point it'll all kind of come together. Another quick story here is, of course, I had heard about Vipassana when my teacher, Dick, as you remember, he used to talk about it when I was attending the NLP programs. This was way back in 2007. And then of course, in 2009 or 2010. And of course, in 2010 and 2011, I did a lot of his programs. And he would always talk about his experiences of being in the Vipassana program. Of course, I didn't know what that was at that point, but eventually it took again another, if I say, I heard about it first in 2007, but I eventually finally managed to, not eventually, but I finally managed to attend the Vipassana 10-day silent retreat in many years later in 2015. So it literally took 8 years for everything to line up, and then for me to be part of that batch that happened at the beginning of 2015. And as things would be, towards the end of 2015, I ended up joining. I literally, it was again time and place that I actually ended up doing one more of those silent retreats in the same year. So this is the thing about life, right? Um, there are all these wonderful things, there are all these powerful things that are out there, but sometimes everything lines up. Sometimes it takes a while for it to truly line up and create that momentum in our lives. So obviously, I will keep sharing more in the coming days about the program, about the progress, about the kind of breakthroughs that people are having. Uh, and I definitely see this as an ongoing thing, which means these practitioner programs will keep happening. But of course, as always, there are two things, right? One is the price that you're paying. Like anything, there will be an increment. Initially, it will be much steeper. Uh, and eventually, when you happen to find this, you'll know that, oh yeah, okay, that was what it used to be. This is how much it is now. Uh, and again, this is just another little, it's like, in the Zen monastery, you do these exercises or you solve these koans as a way to sharpen your mind, as a way to become more equanimous, as a way to be more present to yourself. So whether it is you're paying more money, whether it is you're paying more by effort, you will know when it's your time. So this is also an invitation to you. If you are somebody who's been looking for a space where you will not only be held accountable, but there will be people to to work with you, to work beside you as you hold them and they hold you accountable. And you get to learn skills, you get to practice skills, you get to teach other people as time goes by, because this is, as the name suggests, it's a practitioner program. So what you get to practice in session, you get to practice outside of session, whether it means you are in playing the role of a teacher or a facilitator. That's totally your call, because at the end of the day, it's all about language, it's all about intention, it's all about how you frame it. So if you see yourself as a facilitator, that means you are able to facilitate one person or many people in a way that encourages sharing, that encourages a equality uh, within the group. Or if your style is more sort of top down, meaning that you are telling them and they are doing it, who knows? That's maybe something that you will discover more about or beyond within the practitioner. So as I said, we started on a particular note, which is all about recalibrating and finding your true north. So even if you've been lost, right, this is that moment where you can be found again. How do you do that? Quite often it's just by looking up. Right? That's the whole point of the true north. That when in doubt, when you look up, you will see that one strong sign out there. And interestingly enough, many, many years ago, there's another quick story. And many, many years ago, there was this the idea of the true north that became the guiding principle behind my first venture ever. If you remember, I said initially there was the point where I knew I didn't want to do advertising, but I didn't know what I did want. And then something kind of clicked, and I realized that it was this. I wanted to work with the people. Of course, the first avatar was using theater, but the core of it was this, the logo, in fact, the symbol was the North Star. Right? And it was designed in such a way. when you're part of the program, I will definitely be sharing some of these as examples just to remind you that, we are all on this journey. We are on our own journeys, our own individual journeys, but it's not independent like the way we think of the word today. Right? We're on these, it's almost like we're all on parallel tracks. And the intention is from time to time to crisscross so that we're able to make our own journeys more rich, more interesting, uh, and to change the tone from time to time of the story, change the elements so that we're not just in our heads, but we're able to create these absolutely magical, mythical forests that will make our lives so much more engaging. So, as promised, this is the beginning. We will be doing more of these. If you like this format, if you happen to have been watching this live, please do share what you liked about it. And maybe I'm just also toying with the idea. Maybe I will look to see if I can create a transcript of this video so that you can watch it or listen to it. And as always, you know that these podcasts, they start off as Facebook Lives, and then they get uploaded as podcasts. So you can listen to them, you can watch them, and my intention is, of course, to keep um, keep reminding you that you're on this journey and you're not alone. There are people who are like you, who value making a difference to more than just your own life, to enriching not just your life, but the lives of many. This has been a guiding principle for me for many, many years. And now it's at a point where it only gets stronger. And obviously, I am reaching out and I am inviting you, if you feel that this matches your vibration, your intention. And so I will, of course, share details, probably a link, so that you can take a look at this. And if you feel that this is the right time for you, then it's a pretty straightforward process. The link will kind of help you go step by step. And at the time of this recording, of course, we still have a few more days. So I will be doing a couple of Zoom meetings Zoom sessions, basically, to help you orient to what you really want from this program, and whatever questions, whatever doubts you may have. My intention is to answer as many of those questions. And eventually, of course, when you are in the program, there is the 90-day, which is if you feel you're at that point where you're ready to dive in completely, that's why there's the 90-day program. And on the other hand, if you feel, you're still a little tentative, I've, basically bifurcated into two parts, where the first 30 days is, you can call it level one, because that's what we're calling it. And the second, and if instead of the level one, if you want to literally, if you feel, no, I want to do this entire thing, that's why the program is the 90-day iHNLP practitioner program. And aptly titled, just so that you are on track, that's the level two. Level two is the entire program. Level one is just the first 30 days. Of course, having said all of that, if you feel you want to start with level one and somewhere in the middle, or by the end of it, if you feel you want to continue and do the entire 90 days, of course, um, you will have access to that program, uh, depending, of course, on when you are signing in. Like I said, you either pay attention now or you pay a higher price later. I've learned this the hard way as well. And I know it is a very, very powerful exercise. It's a very, very powerful lesson in not only valuing time, but also valuing money. And, I've finally, after all these years, um, I finally learned those lessons. And these are very, very powerful lessons, because also, whether you are intending to, or whether you already are a digital coach, and whether you're already a healer, uh, the way you value money, the way you value yourself, will also determine how your business grows. Not just right now, but for years and years to come, right? Because the intention here is not just to do I mean, if you're seeing this, whether it's coaching or healing, if you're seeing this as a something that you like to do on the side, that's totally fine. On the other hand, if you feel that this is a calling, this is a vocation, then how you connect to money, how you value money is really, really important. And the more you do, the more people will value you because of who you are being more and more each day. So with that, I will wrap for today. I want to thank you for your energy because this video happened absolutely spontaneously. There are no scripts, no advanced planning. The only thing that had come to me was to create um, this pod, which has been a daily pod, with the intention of sharing with you what happens when you recalibrate, when you find your true north. And that kind of sent me on this beautiful journey. I've thoroughly enjoyed sharing this with you. And I wish that, if you've stayed all the way till here, that you continue this journey. That's honestly, that's the reason why I keep showing up like this every single day. You can find the 160 plus podcasts uploads that podcast pods, I guess, if you want to call it that are on the YouTube channel. And if you like this format and you want to keep listening, on Facebook, you can find the 400 plus videos. Initially, they were obviously Facebook Lives, which then turned into more of this, me talking to you. And eventually, this became the iHypnosis coaching or iHypnosis Coach Speaks, which is this pod. As you can tell, the name happened only recently. So it's still getting familiar in my own memory. But the intent is something that's been on literally since 2022, making it a point to record, and I make it a point to record this every single day, no matter what, whether things are good, bad, whether it's something that's happening in my personal life or at work, whether it's recorded, middle of the day, whether it's recorded in the evening, or sometimes literally just before I sleep. And that might have been at 1 or even 2 in the morning. Sometimes it's been recorded while I've been maybe traveling, I've been at an airport, maybe I remember the 1 or 2 when I was coming back from Dubai. So it doesn't matter what time zone or whatever, but I made it a point to record one every single day. And of course, all props, or full props to Seth Godin, because when I heard about his story of him he would write a blog post every single day, and he did that for literally more than, I don't know if he still does it, but he did it for more than 20 years. I think he still does it. And so that became kind of like my guiding light that, hey, you know what? This is something that is sustainable, and I've simplified it. There are some days like this where I will go a little longer, but otherwise it is these short snippets for you based on my experiences, based on conversations that I have with my clients, with my students. So if you like this kind of programming, there's more. And I look forward to seeing you, right? And this year will be different in that. And we're just getting warmed up. So wishing you all the very best. And of course, as always, remember to live with purpose. Look forward to seeing you live. Look forward to seeing you in our group. God bless, and I will see you soon.